Ladies and gentlemen, we are set to go for today's premiere of the NASCAR Chase for the Cup Series custom schedule season for the Busch Series. We're at the Phoenix International Raceway for the Busch Supermarket 200, and this is a full race highlight video coming your way on this premiere, and it will be due to me being at Auto Club still on the way home, or on the way there, whatever day this ends up uploading. But I will be in the chat whatever day it will be uploaded, and I expect there to be some interesting racing, to say the least. Every time we come to Phoenix in this game, whether it's been the Truck Series, the Busch Series, the Cup Series, whether it was Season 1 or the Custom Schedule season in certain cases in those three series, it has been a battle of track position. Qualifying is a premium in this race, and not just qualifying, but just keeping the overall track position, trying to play the pit strategy games correctly to get your car out in front late. With that being said, we will make it a little tougher on ourselves today by starting dead last without any practice, without any qualifying, so we'll see how this race is going to go. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content, realistic commentary, premiere edition here tonight on the channel. And here we go. Greg Biffle at the rear of the field is ready to go. I'm ready to go. Paul Menard's ready to go. He's the pole sitter. Green flag is in the air, and we're underway at Phoenix, race number 6 of the Busch Series season. Already off the start. Biffle nudging his way to the inside of the 86 car as they work their way down the backstretch. We've seen some pretty nasty crashes at Phoenix in this game, the NASCAR Thunder 2004 as well. It is a very difficult, dangerous racetrack in that aspect, hard to navigate, hard to pass. So Biffle coming from the rear, this is going to be a big test for him today. It's been a few races since he's gone to victory lane in the Busch Series, not quite having the same success in this series as what he was in the Cup Series to start the season, but he is really working his way through, being very risky early on. 3 wide, contact now with Kyle Busch into the dog leg. I believe there was more contact behind him, saw some sparks flying out of the rear view of the 60 as Biffle tries to work his way forward once again. 2 laps in. Paul Menard's led the first 2 from the pole. It's going to be tough to pass those leaders today. Biffle locking the tires up to keep it off the back of the car in front of him of Wally Renshaw on the 106. Definitely a crazy, crazy day to potentially start this one off. Little stack up in the middle of turns 3 and 4, and now Biffle gave a bump to Drew Campbell in the 131 car in front of him. 200 laps. Again, the Busch and Truck Series race is not very long compared to the Cup Series. This is a 1-mile racetrack, so it is just a 200-mile race. Biffle trying to go for broke early. Really wide off the exit of turn 2, down to block Kyle Busch into the dog leg, and now he gets blocked by Campbell into turn 3. Gasses it up a little early, a bump to the back of Campbell to get to the inside with the bump and run maneuver. Three different winners in those last 3 races. 3 different winners total in the first 5 races this year. Biffle won the first 3, then it was followed by Dale Earnhardt Jr. getting a win at Darlington, followed by a win at Talladega by Kyle Busch. Both of those races ended in last lap passes, where we have a 3rd straight Busch Series race with a last lap pass today. Mike Bliss in the 20 just hit the outside wall off the exit of turn 4 after Kyle Busch makes the pass on him, following the lane that Greg Biffle had left open. Biffle comes in with a 74-point lead 5 races into the season over Kyle Busch in second, so the fact that both of them are starting at the back today, it's going to be fun to watch those two not only race each other, but race each other with the pack of cars that they have to pass to try and get themselves to the front. There's a lot of Cup Series regulars in this race today. Of course, Biffle will be running the full season as a Cup Series regular because we are racing as him this year, but Paul Menard, who's a rookie in the Cup Series, is, for instance, leading this race, and bunch of other drivers like Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick, and others as far as the Cup Series regulars also running today's race. Johnny Sauter as well. I say though, 7 laps in, Biffle's up to 27th. Make that lap 8 now. It definitely seems like he rolls the entrance of the corner a lot deeper than everybody else, so he's having a hard time trying to keep it off of other drivers and try not to lock the tires up like he did one other time already in this race as well. They work their way down into turn 3, hustling to get to the inside of Craig Miller in the 168. Now Hermie Sadler moves up in the center of the corner. Biffle will make the pass on him for 23rd, or at least attempt to. They're still side by side down the front straightaway. Now the pass made into the dogleg for Greg Biffle as well as he moves up even more positions. Unsure of exactly what the pit window will be in today's race. I would imagine it'd probably be a 2-stop race, but we'll see if they could somehow make it on 1 stop at about the halfway mark. I doubt that they could go 100 laps on fuel at Phoenix, so it's going to be really tough to do that. But I guess you never know. We'll just have to wait and see. Menard still out in front, 10 laps in. Three wide down to the inside, middle of the backstretch, a bit of contact through there. Biffle makes it through. Been consistent with staying on the bottom. He's never really got shuffled out of line to the outside up to this point. Car's handling good on the short run at least. We'll have to see as the run carries on, especially with a flatter track like Phoenix. That right front's probably going to wear out quite a bit over the course of the run, but so far so good as he's up to 16th. Now on the inside of Jimmy Hill. That'll be a position up to 15th. And it's only lap 12. We have a new leader off of turn 2 this lap. Paul Menard has lost the lead after qualifying on the pole. It looks like the 138 car is now leading this race, one of the fantasy drivers, generated rookie fantasy drivers in this Busch Series season. He's leading the way. Biffle to 13th. I think he has to be ecstatic right now with how his car has been running in the early going. Ashton Lewis just a little bit wide off the exit of turn 4. Biffle underneath him in the middle of the front stretch, and he'll have the advantage on the bottom lane into turn 1. They'll clear him off the exit of turn 2. A couple cars side by side in front of him. Jason Keller and Ron Hornaday. Just beat Hornaday to the inside into turn number 3. A lot of the Cup Series regulars, though, Biffle has not really caught up to yet. Most of, if not all of them, are running inside the top 10, excluding the Biff in 11th, but he is working his way there. A lot of pinching off going into turn 1 that time. Keller pinched off the 14 of Atwood, while Atwood also simultaneously pinched off the 60 of Biffle, but they made it through without any contact. David Green on the outside, Keller staying on the bottom to try and make a pass there. Biffle to the inside of Atwood, picking him behind maybe a slower lead lap car of David Green rather. So Biffle now inside the top 10 for the first time. They'll make the pass for 9th as well as he rides behind Keller, who is in 8th right in front of him. Biffle going a bit wide off the exit of turn 2, really trying to punch back to the throttle in time. Holds on to his positioning down the backstretch and into turn 3. Just wonder if Biffle might be using his tires up a little too early in the run as well, trying to work his way through the field as quickly as he is. The advantage, I guess, I know it's hard to pass at Phoenix and Biffle's making it look easy, but the cars he's passing is in dirty air. The hardest pass to make on this racetrack is going to be the driver with the clean air and with the lead. That is particularly where we've seen very little lead changes in a race, so it was actually impressive that the 138 was able to get around Paul Menard about 12 laps into the race. And he seems to be pulling away right now with the clean air advantage. Biffle slides in line into 8th, making the pass on, I believe that was Casey Atwood. Sorry, no, it was Johnny Sauter in the 27, excuse me. Jason Keller right in front of Biffle. Still, Keller looking to make a pass on the 119. And he might be able to do it as we are already 20 laps in. And we'll take our first jump cut of the race when we get back to the start-finish line this time around. If we get there, Keller with a big block on Biffle. Biffle off the curb into Keller. A lot of contact as they were 3 wide. Which doesn't typically work on a short track, and it almost didn't work that time. Definitely not to perfection, that's for sure. Lap 31, as of right now, Greg Biffle's worked his way up to 2nd place, and he is running currently behind the 138, who I believe is Dwayne Borland. He's still led every lap from lap 12. It's going to be the most difficult car to pass for Greg Biffle. I wonder if when he gets up there, he can maybe force this rookie-generated driver into a potential mistake. We have had one driver blow an engine. Was barely out of the way in turns 3 and 4 a little bit ago, but was able to get into the pit lane as we continue to stay caution-free 32 laps into the Busch Supermarket 200. Biffle continues to close, gap down to just really a couple car lengths now. Maybe 3 to 4 car lengths is the difference between 1st and 2nd. As Biffle is digging, he might be able to get to the lead here before long. Well, he can get to him. We'll have to see if he can actually get to the lead. And he got the 138 car just a bit loose. But not enough for Biffle to make the pass on the outside. Now into turns 3 and 4. Not going to be able to pass him there either. Blue Castleberry in the 138 car, who leads this race currently. Biffle rides behind him. Contact. He definitely intimidated him, but then Biffle ran right into the back of him, and that actually slowed Biffle down more than it slowed up Castleberry. Castleberry not going to make a mistake that time. Seems like Castleberry's a bit loose in turn 2. Biffle to the outside. Castleberry got loose off the exit of turn 2. Biffle on the top will make the pass clear into turn 3 as he throws the block on the bottom. That was a gutsy maneuver to go to the outside off turn 2. That time it worked. 2 laps prior it did not, and that will be 5 bonus points for Greg Biffle, leading his very first lap of this race. And not as dominant of a Busch Series season compared to the Cup Series season thus far. But Biffle's still trying to get the job done nonetheless. Go for that 2nd career Busch Series title this season. Three-tenths of a second lead. Tough to pass at Phoenix, let alone to pass on the outside like Greg Biffle did off the exit of turn 2 and barely was able to clear down to the bottom of the backstretch a few laps ago on rookie driver Blue Castleberry, but maybe Castleberry showing those yellow rookie stripes on the back of his car off. Losing the lead in kind of a dramatic fashion, having to hang on to his car. He was loose in turns 1 and 2, 3 laps in a row. Biffle calculated it correctly, intimidating him enough and forcing Castleberry into that mistake to get Biffle to the lead. Still no lap traffic yet in this race today, as well as the fact that we are caution-free. still a little bit of a ways away, at least from our first pit stops of the night as well. Whether it would be under green or not, we'll have to wait and see, obviously, as well. First two lap cars have now been caught by Greg Biffle during this opening green flag run to start this race as we are at lap 60. Biffle now has extended his lead since taking it away from Castleberry, as he saw moments ago, now to a 1.1 second race lead. And he's still running lap times in the 27.8s, even 60 laps on these tires, so he's got a pretty fast race car, as we kind of figured. He was able to go from last to first, even without any practice or qualifying coming into this race. And as we alternate through the different camera angles for the first time, back to clean air again for Biffle, because even though he's worked his way through 2 lap cars, he's got a gigantic gap before he even catches his 3rd lap car of the day. Still not exactly sure how far these guys could go on fuel. So could it be a potential pit strategy kind of a race, or a fuel mileage race, if you will, on it being potentially 1 stop? Maybe it'll be 2. Maybe we won't even be close to making it on 1, and it'll be no doubt a 2-stopper. I would have to say at this point, I don't think it's going to be 3 stops. Considering that we're on lap 62, I mean, for it to be a 3-stop race, they pretty much have to start pitting within the next couple laps for it to be borderline on 3 stops. So it's looking like 2 or less. Unless, obviously, we get any cautions that dictate otherwise. Drivers end up pitting during the yellows. Remember, we do have a limit for how many tires we can use in the lower series. That is not the Cup Series. So for those lower series, the Busch, the Truck Series, you only use 4 sets of tires. Not counting the ones, of course, you start off with at the beginning of the race, though, either. Now a 1.5 second lead, and it does seem like he's catching up to the back of that pack pretty quickly. Another 27.8 second lap time that last time, as you see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. 27.897 that last lap. So he's almost a full 1/10 of a second off from his fastest lap of the race, which was probably ran, if I had to guess, probably not that long after he took the race lead away, which was already a little over 30 laps ago. Or right around 30 laps ago. He has led the most laps in this race by a very little margin over Blue Castleberry. So right front tire starting to go a little bit on the 60 of Biffle. Grip level going to get a little bit more worse. Oh, trouble! Turns 3 and 4. I saw some sparks flying, and it looks like somebody got into the outside wall. You can see the trail of smoke leading into the concrete wall on the outside. Again, no safer barrier here. But it looks as if everybody has made it through all right, to the point where we'll stay green. Quarter tank of gas left for these crews right now. So we're definitely getting closer to that first stop of the day, so it's looking like it should be a 2-stop race today. Everybody's already made it to lap 67, and now Biffle will cross the line at lap 68. That time by as well. A little more contact. Not sure if it was the same 2 cars in front of us that ended up getting into the wall or not and making contact that first go around, but there was definitely some contact between them that time in turns 1 and 2. Still not close enough to see exactly who they are. Meanwhile, Biffle's still got at least a little bit of clean air as he continues to pull away. A 1.7, almost a 1.8 second lead at the start-finish line. So we are at lap 69 of the Busch Supermarket 200. Premiering on KRC. Looks like the 112 of Nick Richardson will be the next lap car Biffle will catch. Have to watch and see if any of them are going to pull out a line onto pit road anytime soon now that we're 70 laps in. Biffle to the inside of Richardson off the exit of turn 2. Richardson giving him plenty of room. Biffle should be able to complete the pass now into turn number 3. So slide up the track a bit. That's intentional. He just wanted to make sure that car in front of him wasn't going to pit. He started to go a bit wide, so Biffle starts to undercut it again. Lap 71 as he continues to lead. Well, we are back at lap 81. Still, nobody has taken any sort of green flag pit stop action so far. As we work closer to the halfway mark, drivers are probably going to start to make their way down very soon here. Greg Biffle starting to deal with a little bit of a tight handling race car all the way from the entrance of the corner to the exit as this run carries on. Saw him drift up the track a little bit too far wide through 3 and 4, lost the bottom, got back down to the bottom to make another pass on a lap car, though, in turns 1 and 2. He is still pulling away from his lead, getting through the lap traffic a bit better. It was a 3.3 second lead at one point. Now it's down to about 2.9, maybe 3 flat. Well, I think a lot of it was in turns 1 and 2 that last time by when you saw him on the outside lane. I don't think Greg Biffle will make it to lap number 100, though. I just don't think it's possible. He's already got a little less than an eighth of a tank of fuel left. But if he can't do it, can anybody else somehow make their way on just one stop in this race today? Because that would be where there would be a huge difference maker. And quite honestly, again, because nobody has made any pit stops yet, and maybe a little bit worrying for Greg Biffle. Lap 84, maybe he's not getting the fuel mileage that a lot of these other drivers are. Seems like most tracks, both in the Busch and the Cup Series so far this season, in the early going of both seasons, that he's been one of the last cars to pit almost every time. But as you see, his fuel tank is almost empty. 16th of a tank left at the most. Still haven't seen anybody make their pit stop. They might all try to come down at once, which could be possible. Definitely wouldn't want a caution to come out if you were one of the first cars to pit as well. Should be able to stay out another lap or two, and then I think he's going to have to make his way in at lap 87 at the very latest. Will be his pit stop. Yeah, Biffle will stay out this time by, and then he'll pit the following time by. Wait and see if anybody else is going to pit again. Nobody else has made a stop yet. Biffle's extended the lead to 3.7 seconds now. Still nobody in front of him, at least lap car-wise, going to pit that time. Lap 87, Biffle will pit this time by. And he's hoping that if we get a caution, it's going to be right now. Here comes Biffle into the pits, not going to risk it any further. 70 miles per hour is the pit road speed limit, 4 tires and fuel, no issues getting into the pit lane this time around. And he's not going to look to repair any damage either. He doesn't really have any to begin with for this opening stop of the race. And the Mr. Clean crew will now go to work. First time in the Busch Series side this season. I've had him for the last 2 Cup races on the channel thus far. Haven't made any mistakes in the Cup Series side. Maybe a slow stop here and there, but mistake-free at least. Looks like J.J. Yaley pulled into his pit box right in front of Greg Biffle. So Biffle pretty much led about half the field, it looks like, into the pits, considering he's 21st out of the pit lane, currently 1 lap down. Looks like there was a bit of smoke in turns 3 and 4 that last lap. Luckily, we stayed green. Otherwise, Biffle would have been trapped a lap down. So now he's trying to take advantage on 4 tires. And again, we'll just have to wait and see how many cars will stay on the track to try and make it to halfway and try to stretch this race into a one-stopper. Biffle had about a 3.7 second lead into his pit box, so I don't see why he's going to lose the lead. The Mr. Clean crew had a pretty good stop. Plus, some of the other leaders are staying out longer than him, which is also going to help with Biffle having fresher tires. Dale Jr. in front of him going to stay out at least another lap. He's still on the lead lap and has not pitted yet. They're at lap 91, considering Biffle's a lap down at lap 90 right now. Still have cars cycling in and cycling off the pit lane. One lap car going to merge his way into the dog leg. The lead lap car to his outside, now clearing him into turn 3. Junior a little bit wide on entry that time. I don't think he's going to pit this time around. Nope. But he did check up with the 107 pitting in front of him. Halfway home that time by, Greg Biffle is in the lead and had taken the lead back away about 5 laps ago. Jason Keller was the last car on the track to make his green flag pit stop, and it was at lap 95, coming to lap 96 when he made his stop, so that would put him roughly 10 laps short on fuel to the end of the race. You could see Keller, one of the last cars on the lead lap now, second to last car on the lead lap to be exact, as we run. No free pass in the Busch Series for being the first car lap down if there is a caution, but he does have fresher tires than Greg Biffle by probably about 8 laps, considering Biffle pit at lap 87, Keller at 95. This will even out over time here, probably another 8 to 10 laps, but Biffle might already have a fast enough car as it is anyway. He cycled out of the pits with about a 6-second lead, continues to get through the lap traffic better than anybody else, and now has about a 7.2-second lead at the line with 98 laps to go. Still one pit stop left to the end of the race. It is determined that it is a 2-stopper for everybody because nobody was able to make it to the halfway mark or close enough to be able to perhaps save a few laps of fuel worth. Again, Keller would be the closest, but he would be 10 laps short still. You're just not going to be able to save that even on a short track under green flag conditions. I mean, that's 10 miles of fuel he's going to have to save, and I just don't see that happening. We are still caution-free, though, in this race. I guess the only thing now is if we do see a caution, and if it potentially comes out in a weird spot, like I'd probably say between now and the next 15 to 20 laps, that is where we could run into an issue where Biffle could potentially be short on fuel from there if he were to pit. But if he stays out, everybody else has probably got to pit, that he's going to be on old tires and he'll have to make a green flag stop. The other drivers might have to make a green flag stop still, but he wouldn't know until the very end. So he's really hoping that if it is going to stay green, that it at least, or if we are going to have a caution, that it at least stays green long enough to get to about 85 laps to go, which would really only be about another 10 laps, and he'll be in an alright situation. It's like we have some more drivers short pitting all of a sudden, as the window, I guess, would be open to the end for some drivers, but not all. Maybe a half a dozen to a dozen cars in the pit lane. Could be a fuel-only stop, though, as well, considering that they just pitted for tires about 15 laps ago for most of the field. Risky, obviously, if we do end up getting a yellow. I think you also kind of have to think about late in the race, if Biffle just runs this fuel run out as long as he can so he doesn't risk going a lap down at all in this one, as we see more cars pitting, so quite a few of them short pitting as soon as that window opens. Very risky on a short track. One of them was Kyle Busch in the 5 car, which is interesting considering he's second in points. Must not have been able to get through the traffic as well as Greg Biffle did at the beginning of the race, and really up to this point considering we still, again, haven't had that yellow. Busch might be the first car lap down, but it's not going to matter unless he can unlap himself, obviously, because again, there's no free pass in the Busch Series in this game. Only in the Cup Series side. Trucks may have it, but I know for a fact the Cup Series does. We've seen that in races already, but I know for a fact also that the Busch Series doesn't. Really just running his own race, continuing his dominating ways in both the Busch and Cup Series season total. As he looks for his 4th Busch Series win of the year. It'd be the 9th total between the 2 series already, and we haven't even ran 10 races in each series. 80 laps to go in the Bash Supermarket 250 at the Phoenix International Raceway. Greg Biffle currently leads the way right now. A bit of contact with Terry Cook in the 10 car off the exit of turn 2. Biffle got back in the gas maybe a bit too soon. Time around, using up Cook just a bit. He'll go a lap down now. Kevin Harvick put up a little bit of a battle with Biffle. Now Terry Cook doing the same. Kenny Wallace has been putting up a big battle with Biffle also during that little bit of a race break. Biffle fighting back in front of Cook. Cook drove it in deep and flat as well did Biffle. Donnie Hart in the 128 car. I will say Kenny Wallace competing well enough to try and stay on the lead lap right now, and he's been passing a lot of these cars for position in the process, probably about 4 or 5 of them since Biffle has caught him, has been this close behind him, so if Wallace can catch a good timing caution here, he can maybe get back in contention as well. Biffle trying to intimidate Wallace maybe. Just a bit, did not work through 3 and 4 that time. Might try to do it through turns 1 and 2 this time around. No, we'll try it in turns 3 and 4 again. And again, Wallace gets sideways, but it's right in front of Biffle. And Biffle makes contact with the 23 of Kenny Wallace, and that's going to back him up a bit more. He tried to intimidate him out of the way. Wallace did a great job hanging onto his car just enough, and again, he holds onto the lead lap. He's going to have to run him back down again because it seemed like Wallace gapped him a few car lengths. Biffle trying to intimidate Wallace, might be just a bit too far behind him to have it work this time around. That leads down to 8.2 seconds. It was just over 9 seconds. Still have a little over 70 laps to go. That's something Biffle's going to have to keep in mind. He shouldn't have too much damage to the front of his car running into the back of Wallace there. It wasn't that big of contact. Even though he definitely got maybe the worst end of it between the two cars. Wallace loose off turn 2. Biffle to the outside. He intimidated him just enough, and finally Biffle makes the pass on Kenny Wallace cleanly. It was very similar to when he intimidated Blue Castleberry for the race lead just after lap 30 early on in the day. And Wallace now, after that little bit of a mistake, he was holding on for all intents and purposes, but now he's on the attack and he needs to get back around Biffle in case we get a caution. It's going to be difficult though, how hard it is to pass here. You saw how much Biffle was even struggling. This lap car's not going to get out of the way as much now that we're only with about 70 laps to go. 50 laps to go at the Phoenix International Raceway for the Busch Supermarket 200. Premiering live on KRC. 8.9 second lead for Greg Biffle as he continues to lead the race. Running almost 0.2 of a second off of his fastest lap time of the race, which was during this current fuel and tire stint. We're still caution-free in this one as well, and most of the field still has to make their final pit stop of the race also, which we will probably see under 30 laps to go before we see anybody duck onto pit road for their second and final stop of the day, unless we get a caution beforehand. But we're under 25% of this race remaining, and we may have our second caution-free race in the first 6 races of the Busch Series season, which is odd only because we haven't seen a lot of cautions on the short tracks that we have raced so far this season. We haven't really ran any intermediates yet. We haven't ran a road course yet, but the super speedways we've been having a lot of cautions. So it'll be interesting to see You know, as the season progresses and we get to more intermediates and we get to our first and only road course race of the year, if maybe those cautions will play out how the super speedways have gone this year, they're going to play more to the short tracks, like today at Phoenix or Nazareth, where both these races so far have gone caution-free. A quarter of a tank of gas left. Jimmy Hill just got lapped again by Greg Biffle. Biffle working on the 0-2 of Hermie Sadler, who's, I believe, already 1 lap down, so he's just trying not to go a 2nd lap down. Could be even more laps down than that, depending on if he pitted or not already. A lot of the cars that are lapped have already made their final stop of the day as soon as that window opened about 30 laps ago. Biffle's just not able to get around Hermie Sadler. He uses a little nudge of the bumper. Sadler pinches him in the dog leg as well as they make contact. Bump and run by Biffle, and then Sadler didn't appreciate it, and he rubbed alongside the leader there for a couple of seconds, and Biffle starting to pull back away from him now. Still has a 9-second lead. It definitely doesn't seem like Biffle's as fast as what he was in the first run, or I should say, maybe the tire fall-off's a little bit more during this run, or even perhaps other drivers have made some adjustments to keep up with Biffle time-wise, that he's not really stretching that lead out as much as he did that opening fuel and tire stint of this race. Likely still gonna end up making a 4-tire stop is what it's looking like. 2 tires is just a bit risky if we get a late caution in this one. Big blocks thrown off the exit of turn 2 and then back to the bottom of the dog leg by Biffle. He tries to hang on to his position. Closing in on Nick Richardson in front of him. And then there's going to be a gigantic pack of lap cars not too much further up the way as well for the Biff. Richardson leaves just enough of the bottom open and kind of chops down on Biffle in the middle of the corner. Biffle giving him some nudges, trying to get back to his inside. It's like, hey, I had that room and you kind of chopped my nose off, so I'm just going to stay in the gas and use you as my brakes, and we'll get around him in the next corner. We'll have 40 laps to go this time by at Phoenix. If we get any cautions, we'll jump right back into the action. But for now, we'll take a little bit of a break before green flag pit stops. We've already cycled through the camera angles one final time in tonight's race. Watching the Busch Supermarket 200 on KRC. 30 laps to go at Phoenix. Final pit stop, second of which as well coming up very, very shortly. Within the next few laps, Greg Biffle will make his stop. Pitted at lap 87 before, so he'll go to lap 174 this time to make it another 87 lap fuel and tire stint before making his way into the pits. But the decision now is, do you take 4 tires or do you take 2? If you take 4 and we get a caution and you get trapped a lap down, your chances of winning are done. But if you take 2, caution comes out, you'll at least be on the lead lap. Everybody else who has not pit will come into the pits. You'll cycle back as the leader, but then you'll have to hold him off on 2 old left side tires. So that's really kind of the disadvantage, I guess, if you will, for leading the race at this juncture when you look at the strategy. But we've seen how much track position really matters here at Phoenix. And if you can help it at all, you don't want to lose it. So Biffle's going to go another lap and a half here. He'll pit, not this time by, but the following time by. He's got a 10-second lead right now. It is a short track, a little bit longer pit road, but he should be able to make right side tire pit stop. And I would think is going to be able to at least stay on the lead lap. We'll see. He's going to stay out this time. One more lap. 27 laps to go now in this race. And Biffle will pit this time by and give up his race lead. At least momentarily. And he's got to hope for no mistakes on this pit stop as well. We got somebody down on the bottom of the racetrack with a blown engine. I believe it's Billy Parker. Paul Menard just got ran into from behind by Tiny Buchanan. Biffle will make his way into the pit lane this time. 4 tires and fuel for him. Or sorry, 2 tires and fuel for him. Right sides only. And that one driver who was blowing up trying to get to the inside of the racetrack has made his way to pit road now, so we stay green. That could have been the first caution, and it could have been right in front of race leader Greg Biffle, which would not have been good. So the Mr. Clean crew will go to work for the second time and final time today. Right side tires only. Topping off on fuel, and there he goes. Parker in his pit box. Dale Jr. will take over the race lead. Biffle on the track will remain on the lead lap. Might be a little on the looser side. He was getting tight towards the end of the run, but I say looser because of those older left side tires. 20 seconds off the race lead. Now, he does have fresher right sides than, say, Dale Jr. or the rest of the leaders. I also think that these are the first laps Dale Jr. has led today, so he'll start to get some bonus points, even though he has missed 1 race this season, which was the last race that Greg Biffle won at Nazareth. It's the only race he's missed so far. Next race will be taking place at the Dodge Raceway next week, or potentially later on in the week, depending on when this exactly uploads, but he will miss the next race, so he'll kind of fall a little bit further behind in the standings. He's 8th in the standings, I do believe, coming into this race, despite missing 1 race this season. So that's how strong of a year he's had so far. He does have 1 win to show for as well. A couple of drivers onto pit road that last time by. Moving Biffle now inside the top 5, up to 4th. And I'd imagine Jason Keller will be the last driver on the track until about 10 laps to go. Not sure if he's going to be on the lead lap or not. He was a lap down as it was. We're going to go a bit wide on purpose off the exit of turn 2, but he didn't want to go that wide. Brushes the outside wall just a bit. He wasn't sure if that lap car right in front of him was going to pit or not, so he just wanted to be better safe than sorry. Cost him a little bit of time, but it's alright. And it stays green to the end. He's going to win this race, especially with this strategy. They'll start to run him down on 4 tires, but they're going to have much slower of a pit stop that it's not really going to matter all in all anyway. $20 to go this time by. If we do get a caution, we'll jump back into the action, but for now, we'll take our final break of the day. 10 laps to go at Phoenix. Greg Biffle leads once again as he regained the lead with about 15 laps to go, and the cycling of green flag stops. He's got a 16.7 second lead, his largest of the day, but second on back is slowly closing in on him. They're not going to have enough time. That would be because Biffle took right side tires only. He had about a 9.5 to 10 second lead roughly coming into those green flag pit stops when he ended up pitting with about 27 laps to go. And now with 9 laps left, he leads late. Still caution free at Phoenix in the Busch Supermarket 200. I haven't really had that many close calls in this race either. Biffle's ran a relatively very clean race. He's made virtually no mistakes. And I'm just hoping that it stays green to the end. And even if we do get a caution, it could end under yellow depending on how many laps we'll have left. If we get down to 5 laps or less to go, I think there's a capability of the race ending under the caution flag. We did have a green-white checker in the first race of the year at Daytona. Caution came out with 5 to go on the back straightaway, and they had a 1-lap restart. Dale Jr. got passed on the final lap by Greg Biffle in the process of that happening. Biffle trying to go for his first win in 3 races in the Busch Series, and it would be his 4th of the season in the first 6 races after winning the first 3. Five laps to go at the line. He may catch another lap car before the end of the race. Wouldn't be surprised if he didn't, though, considering he does have 2 old left side tires. Definitely not running nearly as quick as he once did in this race. He's in the 28-second lap barrier versus his fastest lap being a 27.795. So a little over 0.3 of a second off the pace. Again, why he needs it to stay green. 4 to go. And if we did have a restart, all the lap cars would be behind the lead lap cars due to having a caution with less than 10 laps remaining. I should say a restart with less than 10 laps to go. Well, the lead's been trimmed down a bit. It's down to 15.9. It was 16.9 when Biffle first came out of the pits. I should say when everybody else cycled out, which would have been about 14 laps to go. So over about a 12-lap stretch, they've gained 1.1 seconds roughly on the Biff. With 3 laps left, it's good now. As long as he's not involved in the accident, he'll easily be able to make it to the finish here. No cautions come out on the final lap, though, in this game. Always clarify that, because we have seen a couple different instances where we've seen accidents on the final lap in this game. In multiple different series. We've seen it in the modifieds, we've seen it in the trucks, and the Cup Series. Yeah, I don't think we've had it in the Busch Series yet, but hopefully it's going to stay that way. It would definitely add to the drama. But it would be unwarranted and unwanted, at least for Biffle's behalf. As they work their way off of turn number 4, the white flag is in the air, 1 lap to go, and we will have our second caution-free race of the Young Busch Series season. Here today in the Busch Supermarket 200 at the Phoenix International Raceway. 1 more corner to go as Biffle works his way out of the dogleg on the backstretch. The checkered flag will wave, and Greg Biffle will win race number 4 of the Busch Series season and extend his points lead with a max points day, leading the most laps and winning the race. Just a solid win all around for Greg Biffle. Hard to get the puffy smoke out of the Busch Series cars in the burnout like right now, but Greg Biffle will burn out nonetheless. Maybe not the greatest one, but that's alright. It was a dominating win nonetheless. He could celebrate that. Only 3 cars finished on the lead lap with this race going caution-free. 1 hour and 34 minutes was the total race time today. 147 of the 200 laps were led by Greg Biffle as we had 8 lead changes, most of which during green flag pit stops, 3 of which only during the actual green flag racing itself, all in the first 35 laps. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leads 10 laps, finishing second. He led in the middle of green flag pit stops there, the final 30 laps of the race. Ron Hornaday ends up finishing last car in the lead lap in third. Bobby Hamilton Jr. finished first car lap down in fourth. And Blue Castleberry, who led 30 laps early in the race, rounds out the top 5. Paul Menard, who started on the pole, led 11 laps, had a great day, finished 6th. Get hard for Menard down in the chat. Kenny Wallace ended up finishing in the 7th place position with no laps led. Ashton Lewis finished 8th. Kevin Harvick 9th, despite finishing a lap down, and Hermie Sadler will round out the top 10. Kyle Busch, who was second in points, finishes 11th after starting 39th. He just couldn't quite get up there like Biffle did. The track position definitely hurt him more than Biffle today. Jason Keller, we saw him lead 2 laps at one point earlier in the race during green flag pit stops. The first time around, he unfortunately finished 22nd, multiple laps down. And we only had 3 drivers who failed to finish the race due to engine failures, which would have been Dave Campbell. Andrew Wiggins is an NBA player. I don't know who that guy is. Is it Al Wiggins? It's Wiggins. It's a Wiggins of some sort. He blew an engine, and then we saw Billy Parker blow an engine late, nearly causing a big stack up and a crash into turn 3 with some lap cars in front of us. But luckily, we got through it all right. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I will see you guys in the next live stream. Enjoy the race this weekend at Auto Club, whether this is before or after the race actually happened. Look out for the post-race analysis video from the Auto Club Speedway, as well as the predictions video and the race highlight video, because I'll be at the race this weekend. Thank you. Enjoy.